we can get started. So first of all, very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. For those who don't know me, I am Dianka Aesel. I am the commercial lead for FruitLook at Blue North Sustainability. And then we have our special guest on with us today, Luca Bein, who is a wine producer who has been using FruitLook to help support his more efficient farming. And just a brief introduction about Luca. So Luca has, I think, one of the smallest wine farms probably in South Africa, or maybe even the world. Luca, you can correct me. And it's situated just outside Stellenboch on Polka Dry Road. I highly recommend that you guys go and visit Luca. They make excellent wine there. I've had the privilege of visiting Luca a couple of times, especially the Merlot, very, very good Merlot. So yeah, please do go and check them out. But Luca is also one of our regular FruitLook users. He's on our FruitLook stakeholder board. I always call him one of our biggest ambassadors. He's always helping us just to make FruitLook better and giving us some really good feedback and helping us with his inputs. So yeah, today is just about giving Luca the opportunity to show you guys and other wine producers, or just anyone interested in FruitLook, how he has been using it, and hopefully you guys get some value from that, get some ideas on how you can also use FruitLook successfully in the context of your own farm. So if you are perhaps interested more in the functionality side and things like that, we do have regular kind of training webinars specific for that every first Thursday of the month, which you can register for. So we won't be really showing that today. It's just a kind of Q&A with Luca himself. And please feel free if you have any questions. That is what the session is all about. Just some admin before I hand over to Luca. If you do have questions, I will from my side now, after I'm done talking, just unmute all of you and give you guys access to your mics, so you can talk directly to Luca, or if you prefer to, you can put a question in the Q&A or the chat section as well. And at the end, we do value your feedback. There's a little survey that will come up if we end this webinar. So if it's just 5 minutes to fill in. So if you just have any feedback, and if you would like more of these type of webinars in future, please do fill that in for us. But yeah, that is everything from my side. So Luca, I'm now going to hand over to you, so you can just maybe start by telling us a bit about your operations. And I know you've got some examples to show us. So yeah, thank you, Luca.
Thank you. I would like to welcome everybody from my side as well, and thank you for the marketing spot you just gave for fine wine. That's okay. You mentioned we are a very small winery, and we do use, in fact, remote sensing, I would say, since almost 20 years, or well, 20 years actually. We started in the early 2000. And to give you an impression of what we do with it, I have a little presentation which I would like to show you all. I compiled it for another occasion, but let me see whether I can share this. Oops, there we are. Is everybody fine with that? Can you see?
I can see something's coming through, Luca.
A presentation?
Yeah, I can see a presentation, but it's showing your desktop, so just make it bigger, I think, the remote sensing window. Yeah.
Does it show?
Yeah, can you make it a bit bigger, perhaps?
Wait. Let me quickly share it again.
Okay.
Better like this?
Yes, I can now see your Chrome window. Yeah. Yep, that's fine.
Okay. You see an area picture filling the screen?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I would like to start with. These are vineyards in Stellenbosch at this time of the year, and I mean, area shots are always nice, but this one shows particularly nice how uneven vineyards are in itself. And that's exactly what I want to talk about, namely to analyze these vineyards from a distance, and that's what FruitLook does as well. The whole process is called remote sensing. We started using this technique, as I said, in 2000, early 2000, and used in particular precision viticulture, where precision viticulture means managing variability within a vineyard with the help of aerial imagery. The introduction of remote sensing from satellites, however, like FruitLook, made it possible to analyze our vineyard in shorter intervals, like weekly. And now we can really monitor our vineyard over the course of entire season, which is a complete different approach. I'd like to go into detail a bit later. Just going back to what Bianca said, we are in fact the smallest commercial winery in the Cape, with only 2 hectares, and also planted with 1 variety only, which is Merlot. If I say the smallest commercial winery, I mean that we do live off what we do. You can see here the view from the Polka Dry to Falls Bay. And if you look at the vineyard from the side, you see it looks actually quite nice and even. So you would be very happy if you see it like this. But when you look at it from the top, from an aerial view, you see again these irregularities. You see lighter spots, more vigor, very dry spots. And that's exactly what we want to work with. As mentioned, the term precision viticulture refers to this vineyard management that takes care of these differences, and it is done with aerial imagery. For precision viticulture, the NDVI is calculated the normalized difference vegetation index by a formula, which it then calculates for each pixel in this image. And each pixel eventually expresses the vigor of the plant at that specific point. For easier interpretation, these values are then converted to a color code, and that's represented as an image again, and then we see the differences much clearer. The same as FruitLook actually does for them, but we've got a higher resolution. In this picture, for example, blue means excessive growth, green means moderate growth, yellow means balanced growth, and finally red means sparse growth. Eventually, we change this to a management plan. That means, according to this picture, we subdivide the vineyard into smaller plots and eventually harvest them separately, vinify them separately, and eventually use the individual properties of each plot. That means we came away from saying like this sparse growth is a bad growth or too much vigor is bad. We just use each, can I say, plot to its own potential. Like, for example, the vigorous part we vinify to a rosé, other parts to red wine, be it in new oak, depending on the concentration, or in older oak. And like this, we can ultimately produce a complete product range with different wines. Also, we really only have this small little plot and 1 variety. Now, where FruitLook comes in, technology has not stand still where we started 19 years ago. We know we fly with drones whenever we want, and even better, we have a remote sensing from satellite. In other words, FruitLook. And this remote sensing had the one big advantage now for me, that we get that new status reports every few days. And they are easily available, really just with a simple mouse click. This availability means that, and the fact that we receive weekly updates had a great advantage that we can follow now certain parameters over time. Instead of before, we had just rely on one single snapshot per year. And what's more, with FruitLook, we can now even quantify certain parameters. That's very important for us. So we can put an absolute number to it. Before, we just knew it was lots of growth or little growth or whatever. And now we can say like 1.5 square meter per leaf area per square meter of vineyard. Or even more important, we can exactly say how much water has evaporated from our vineyard. So ET from FruitLook is my most important parameter. And in view of the limited water in Southern Africa, the importance of this cannot be overstated. To sum it up, FruitLook has become a very important tool for me, and during the growing season, I consulted at least once a week. Of course, I must admit that it is extra work, but eventually it gives me back much more than I put in. And when I now look back to the earliest 2000, when we started with remote sensing, it was out of simple interest into the matter. So today, I must say, I don't want to make it without it anymore. So I'm very happy that actually the Department of Western Cape has this offer with you, Bianca, and all that FruitLook. So this is not a marketing spot again for FruitLook, but this is my serious conviction. Yeah, maybe somebody has got some questions to this and how we actually put it into practice and more.
Thank you. Yep, thank you very, very much for that introduction, Luca. I'm just going to reclaim the host so that I can unmute everyone quickly. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm just allowing you all access to your own mics, so you can, yeah, if there's specific questions before Luca shows us his Excel setup and how he actually uses the data, FruitLook physically. But yeah, is there any questions from anyone at this stage? Everyone a bit shy. Yes, I see some hands raised. John Murray, I think you can go first.
I just want to know, you said you use ET. Are you using the ET or the ETO?
Yeah, FruitLook is actually a net value, what you get. So when you speak about ET from FruitLook, you speak about ETC. So that is the final amount of water that has evaporated from the surface of your vineyard, taking into account weed cover, status of growth, whatever. So you don't need a conversion factor or a crop factor to add on. So that's one of the nice things. And it really measures what you're losing.
Okay.
Because I can explain, I used to work with crop factor. The first 10 years before we had FruitLook, actually FruitLook started with crop factor with ET0 in the first year, I think 2013, the first 2-3 years. So we had to use a crop factor, and the crop factor was never really accurate enough because it changes so much over the season. Even if you follow the rules like 0.3, 0.4, whatever, but it never takes into account your activities like whether you're tipping or topping, whether you cutting the weed or whatever. So I'm very happy with FruitLook that we actually have the actual value that comes off.
Okay, that's cool. And then just another one, sorry. So you can't get the ETC adjusted from FruitLook. It's only the ETC you get from FruitLook.
I wouldn't say only, it is the ETC. Because okay, that's what we need. And ET0 is just a theoretical value,
yeah,
which will never be correct, as I said, because it never takes into account the weed cover or anything like that. You will never get it right, unfortunately, even if it's standard practice, but in a normal vineyard, it's very difficult.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, John Murray. Next, we have Erhard. I see your hands up.
Yes, please. I was wondering, what is the variability between seasons with regard to the microplots that have been identified?
The variability in terms of what?
You've identified with the remote sensing the various plots depending on bigger and dry areas and so on. Do you find they are consistent between seasons, or do they vary between years?
Well, we use as an ideal date January. This is a traditional date for remote sensing for precision viticulture in vineyards, or I mean January when it goes into the ripening season, the raisin. So if I use the raisin at the point to do this analysis, every year the same, then I can actually compare also years after year. I tried with other systems with sensors, tractor mounted sensors and all these things. So you could use it like in early spring and later on, but it's very difficult to make a good interpretation. For me, January is the point to go. And that is for precision viticulture. And I think I will stick to that. It's possible that we should compare seasons more often, but we use this January picture. Does this answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Errol. Struble, I think maybe you had a question? I see you've unmuted yourself. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, I see you. Yeah, if you have a question, feel free to just speak up. Any other questions from anyone at this stage? No more hands? Everyone good? Yes, John Murray, you've got another one. Go for it.
I just want to add on to Gerard's question. He asked when you take the picture and you said in January, or you start in Jan. But what if the season is late like this season? Because some of the vineyards only in Stellenbosch had Verizon middle January and not like in the end of December like normal. What do you do then?
Well, sorry. Okay, I'm back, I hope. Sorry, I've got a cold. They call it COVID, but anyway. I said at Verizon at the ideal point. So in our case, Verizon is very regularly in January. So it starts early January and is finished by 20th of January. So that's what we stick to.
Okay, that clears up. Thank you.
Thank you, John Murray. Okay, so if there's no further questions, if you're feeling up for it, Luca, you could maybe just take us through an example of kind of how you apply FruitLook
Yes.
on a weekly basis. Thank you.
Now, what we do, the difficulty is actually translate the data into practical advice. And what I did since many years is I must now do again a screen sharing.
I've made you host again, Luca, so just, yeah, there we go.
Is it fine?
It seems to be coming through. Once again, it's showing, you should make it bigger. Just make it bigger like last time.
Then it's not right. Okay, give me a second. I do it like this. Okay, again. Fine like that?
Perfect, can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, you see an Excel sheet. This is now from March this year. And what I do, it's a daily input, what I do. So I also have some notes on the right-hand side. It's actually an Excel sheet which I used since 2000, whatever, 5 or so. You see there is still a crop factor in, but I put it to 1 because these days we get it already calculated from FruitLook. So what I get ET from FruitLook weekly, and I put them into the Excel table for every day because it's daily. We have weekly dates, but I put it like 7 days. And then I add like irrigation volume, whatever I have, that I do with a water meter, where I just put the readings from the water meter in and it calculates what it adds to the field. Then we've got rain down here, If it rains, it does automatically calculate the potential, the plant available water, which is either millimeter or in percentage. It shows me possible runoff if I over irrigate or if you have too much rain. So all I have to fill in are the yellow fields, water meter, ET, the rain, and this is 0 means the irrigation, or the tensiometer, which I have in sight for control purpose in the vineyard. If you go back to the water balance here, you see I go very low. This is now shortly before harvest. We are harvesting like shortly for the last red wine harvest. So I go very low, it looks like 5%. But I must say the water capacity is a little bit higher in our soils. I just took into account that 1 meter, which allows me to calculate that our soils are deeper, so that's why I can go so low. And there is some water actually supporting the plants from deeper below. It is so far clear that does it make sense to everybody how I do work around this data? I hope. Otherwise, please tell me. We can change now the screen. I put up just 1 second. There we are. Let me share another screen, which is this one. Can you see it? A new Excel table?
I can see that, yep.
So this is the irrigation calculator based on FruitLook evapotranspiration data. And I made it specifically to simplify things. So I've got, this is a sample field now, which happens to be my field. So we only do weekly inputs. For example, this starts now on the 28th of July, 2021. Then I ETC as I get it from FruitLook. This is 7.3 millimeters rainfall whatever I have, and irrigation applied. Before I can start with that, I've got other yellow fields which I have to fill in for the sample field, the name, whatever, the wine type, the farm, and then particularly the size, the depth of soils, the irrigation efficiency, whether we have drip or sprinkler or flood, the type of soil, whether it's like in our case, for example, fine sandy loam, then I can give in the plant available water. If you're interested in that, actually there is a context menu which would show you, but that is the soil water level I start. If you have a dry winter, for example, and I start in July, and I know so much has already evaporated, I can start with 7%, 70%. Otherwise, I can change this to 100%. And then it goes on. The maximum deficit, which I would allow, etc. So I add, if once this is done for the field, you don't have to repeat it anymore. You just enter the ETC as you get it from FruitLook on a weekly basis, the rainfall on a weekly basis, and irrigation. And if you go further in the season, you will see just this is the potential, the plant available water. Here actually you see excess water, so runoff. If the rain is more than the soil can capture, we've got surface, subsurface or surface runoff, which is in this case 30 millimeter, 15, 14, 32 even. That was in August this year. So eventually when the season starts, we are at 100% full. And as the season progresses, the water gets less and less and less and less. And at some stage, we want to irrigate. So this column shows you how much you should irrigate if you want to fill up to the level you want. And that's a nice thing. And you just enter the irrigation, the quantity in cubic meters, and eventually see it fills it up again. Here in percentage of the plant available water, here in effective millimeter per meter depth. And then we had here a series of irrigations. That was late in just around start of Horizon, because we had to, it was very dry. And we filled up quite a bit. This show is now a little bit strange because we shouldn't irrigate during harvest, but what happened, as I mentioned, we have these separate vineyard blocks within the vineyard. So one part we harvested for the bubbly early in January, in the 2nd of February. So we could already start irrigation there. Other parts still needed to ripen until March. So this is a way to do it, and it's exactly the same as before, just that the table is a bit more compact. That's how we do it, and this table, which I just showed you now, which is on your screen, I will use this one definitely. I can also put in remarks and write whatever I want to do, or maybe go in and do the reading for the potential, for the Eurometer, like whatever that will be then. That is my way of doing it. Yeah. Does it make sense to everybody? Any questions? May I stop sharing?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Luca. Yeah, anyone have any questions on that? Any comments? Ah, there we go. John Murray, you may go.
I have actually a few questions on the previous Excel spreadsheet. You said you irrigate according to 10 meters, but I only saw you have the deepest one is 60 centimeters. Is there only roots up to 60 centimeters, or is the roots deeper?
Well, this is just a point of control for me. I don't use tensiometer. Tensiometer is such a punctual point. Even if you've got more sophisticated tools, you just measure this specific point. You don't measure your vineyard. And I used to rely on that, as I said, in the first few years. Then we had a weather station and we calculated ET0 and worked with crop factor. And I still had the tensiometers in place for control. And I must say, I left it in the same place since 20 years. Of course, I take it out and service it, but it's all in the same place, in the same depth. And I have actually two, one at 30 centimeter, one at 60 centimeter. That one at 30 centimeter packed up this year, but that one at 60 centimeters still is fine. So that just gives me a possible of comparison over the years. But I don't really trust them to rely on them for irrigation purpose. Even if you irrigate, we have drip irrigation and it goes, the tensiometer is maybe 20 to 30 centimeters just beside the dripper line. So it will get a lot of water once you irrigate. We've got wide rows of 2.75 meters. So it doesn't tell you about the total volume of the water in the total volume of soil. And it just tells you about this specific point. You remember we started the introduction of our farm with that precision viticulture project, where we see how different the soils are. So we have really very dry spots. We have very, very vigorous spots. So where do I start with positioning the tensiometer? Even if I have like 10 tensiometers, it's just not my thing, but I leave it and I do the readings on a regular basis for this reason, that I can compare or the vintages, and also maybe something is wrong, be it with my calculations, be it with FruitLook, sorry, Dianka, but
Okay.
yeah, that's my approach.
Okay, and you don't take into account, in quotation marks, plant stress at all? You only go on the ETC.
Yes, because this should all be included in the calculation in the results from FruitLook. They do calculate the actual evapotranspiration from your field, and you define the field as you define it in FruitLook, as you draw the borders, and it doesn't take.
Yes, I understand that, but what I mean is you don't take into account stem water potential or leaf water potential, anything like that.
No, I'm now a bit. I know I'm not. How can I say? I shouldn't say, but leaf water potential is the same with the tensiometers. It's a sampling problem. We know if you do leaf water potential, we must do it at this time of the day, every time the same, and maybe every time the same plant or same type. But if you really want to sample a leaf, just sampling a leaf from a plant, I mean, you've got 200, 400 leaves on a plant. So you decide, of course, you've got your rules. I'm not sure whether sampling is has a big influence on how you get that leaf to the pressure bomb. And that's why I really stopped. We looked at that before, but I really stopped doing it as we have so good experience now with this calculated FruitLook values.
Okay. You said in the first slide, so you said you divided your vineyard into blocks. Some are dry, some are wet. Can't you then maybe have 3 repetitions in each of those blocks for leaf water potential of sun leaves and see what the stress of that day is, and then also stem water potential leaves, which is then the covered leaves, 3 repetitions in each of those blocks? Can't you do something like that maybe?
That would be very interesting. Again, the blocks are quite even, but still you can't get out all the irregularities. Then you know when you go for leaf water potentials through your vineyard, you know exactly that the vines are uneven. The one is a bit bigger, the other one a bit smaller. So which one do you choose now? Even if you keep them in blocks of more or less even, it's just more or less even. But I must admit, what leaf water potential shows nicely is the stress of the vine. So we can't really calculate or read the stress of the vine from FruitLook. And that would be an interesting extra information. But whether I would, should look at it, let's say.
Okay. Okay, yeah. And okay, yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Any other questions? Okay. If you guys have questions that maybe come up later, we can put you into contact with Luca, and can contact him, and he'll give you the answers. But if there's nothing else, anything else from your side, Luca, that's pretty much it.
Not really. No.
Okay.
I'm happy if everything is clear so far.
No, it's very
Thank you
clear.
for listening.
Yeah. Then thank you very, very much, everyone, for joining us today. I really hope that you guys found value from this, and we do plan to have more commodity-specific webinars with some of our FruitLook users going forward. And if any of you are interested in being a guest or just attending, please do reach out to us. I'm just going to share my FruitLook contact details with you guys as well. I'll email it to each of you as well. So if you guys have questions relating to FruitLook and need any support or training, you guys are welcome to just give us a shout. So let me I need to make myself host again here. And then I'll just share my own screen. So yeah, that's just all our contact details. We've got our tech coaches. We've got 2 new people who joined us. Jay and Melissa, who's also available for any support. And yeah, please do fill in our survey that comes up afterwards. We'd really appreciate the feedback. I see that there's a... oh, thank you so much, Corrado, from all the way from Switzerland. He says, perfect webinar. Thank you so much, and greetings to Luca. Thank you, Corrado. Okay, I think then if there's no other questions or comments, thank you once again, everyone, and we hope you have a lovely day further. Thank you also for Luca for excellent presentation and for being our guest. We really appreciate you. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.